Good evening, and how are you all today? All two of you in chat. Is the, just checking, is the sound okay? Hi Stuart. Evening Ronnie, good evening Adrian. Hiya Gerald. Could someone just say, is the sound okay? And the picture, of course, of my ugly face. Evening Steve Ellis, evening Stuart. Oh, I said hello to you once, Stuart. Hello Simon Hopkins, how are you? Sound is okay, is it? That's great, thank you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Evening Wayne Bigfoot, how are you? Evening Paul. Duncan Barber, thank you Duncan. Georgianne, good evening. Evening live stream Rob. Bill Keogh, hello from Canada. Hello from Bedfordshire, how are you Bill? Tony Marlborough, hello Tony E, how are you? And Steve Jeremiah again. Hi Steve. Levi, good evening, thank you. Glad to hear the sounds okay. Jennifer, good evening. Evening John and Paul. Wise all. Wise, is that Paul Wise, I wonder? Hi Steve, Robin, Simon Mason, good evening. Yes, oh Joseph Wise is here as well. Hello Joseph. Ken Payne, good evening. Evening Jens Kith from Denmark. Jens Krith. Hopefully I... Hello T, how are you? Good evening. Hello William Powell. Alan, good evening Alan. Hello Kurt, welcome to Austria. Hi Paul. Patrick. Hello Bram, how are you my friend? Are you well? That's good, thanks Ronnie, glad everything's okay. Hello Bruce, Jordan Woodworks, how are you Jordan? How are you Bruce, you okay? Good evening Wayne the woodturner, my good old mate Wayne. He's only tuned in to see if something's got to go flying. I hope this doesn't go flying because it's a big bit of wood. Just to let you all know, good evening everybody. Good evening Alistair, Dave O.T. Mick Stratton, good evening sir, how are you? Shay Lenahan, nice to see you again Shane. Shay rather, sorry, good evening. Sean Tyndall, good evening. Alan Hunt, good evening to you. And Wayne Tollisfend from Texas, good evening Wayne. Just to let you know, at about 20 to 7 I stopped watching Glenn Lucas. I saw a Glenn Lucas demo, he was doing a remote demo. And I did actually think of calling this one off. He does make it look so easy. I learned a few things. Whether I'll be able to put them into operation tonight, I don't know, but we'll see. I hope everybody's had a great week. Okay, we're going to start in about a minute. I'm just going to go to my little annoying break for a minute. Okay, well, we'll make a start. Hiya, Billy. How are you? Nice to see you. I'll make a start. What I'm going to do today, I've got this piece of ash, and it measures 10 inches by 8 3/4 by 4.5 deep, and for silly money, 255mm by 200 by 110 approximately. And I'm going to make, or hopefully make, a natural edge bowl from this. So what I'll do, I'll go to the overhead, and I have in actual fact found the centre, because that takes time to fiddle around to get it right. I'll explain my thoughts and we'll get straight into the turning. And what I intend, there are a couple of little cracks appeared on the end. This is about 5-year-old, this. So it's quite dry, but it has had taken a few cracks. I'm not bothered about the finish. It's basically the method. It's one of the methods. There are quite a few methods of turning natural edge bowls. So what I'll do is go to the overhead camera and show you my thought process with setting it up. Okay, so here we are on the overhead. Now, one of the most important things with, in my view anyway, with a natural edge bowl is to get it in such a way where the edges are on the same plane, so that you get an even, whoops, let's go over here, so that you get an even turn, if you like. So it's very important to set it out. Now, in my view, it's not so important to get this plane straight, but this plane. Now, that's why I like using my stab centers, because they have a spring-loaded center, and then that enables me to finely tune how I'm going to set it up. Now, I've just made a little indent here with a Forstner bit, which gives me a nice flat surface to put my center into. Now, you can see there that that was basically what I'd measured as center, and you can see that it's off center for me to get the edges level. And similarly on the other side, I just drew 2 lines here, and that's the center of the blank, corner to corner, but that's actually where it will be for me to get everything even. So to save me doing all that, I've actually done it, marked it with a red spot. So this will go into the drive center, and then bring up the tailstock, wind him in. That should be long enough, I should think. Okay, so I've now tightened everything down. I've now got this spinning between centers at an even, this is the side you want to look at, and it's as even as I'm going to get it. So hopefully when I've scooped it out here, these ends of the wings are going to be on the same plane. And again, a little check you can do if you bring up your tool rest, and just there's the high point that's important. And if I turn that, let's do it this way. There we go. It worked fine in practice earlier on. Right, okay, so there's the high point where that red mark is, and if we look there, it's slightly out, but I'm not too worried about that. It's not going to make a lot of difference. The whole idea is to get that as square as you can. So the first job is to square off this face, to flatten this face, and the reason for that is it means that I can turn the speed up a little bit. Now, as you can see, if I put the tool rest there, you can see that it's almost touching on this face, on this part of the face, and there's quite a gap there. So I've got to level that out, and then we can start to turn. Now, normally I would do a pull cut on that straight off the bat, but I've tried this before, and I was watching Mr. Lucas do it on a bull, so I'm going to try that, where it goes across in increments and then you do a final cut there. Because what's going to happen, I'll be using my 1/2 inch bowl gouge. If I take it the other way around here for you to see, that you can, what will happen is, actually that camera needs to move a little bit, I think. Just over there. So what was that? Yeah, that's better. So I'll stay in focus, yeah. So I'm going to have air there, if you like, and here is the wood. So it's going to be a rather bumpy ride, and I'll show you what I mean, and then I'll do it the other way. So safety gear on, start the lathe at 0, and just build the speed up. and hang on a minute, let's just move that there. How's that? That's better. Yeah. I think that should just about be it. Yeah, that's better. Oh, it needs to go a bit more. Sorry about this. That's moving it. Is that all in shot? Yes, that's all in shot. Okay. So, say, turn the revs up until you start to get a bit of vibration. Just starting now, and it's 640 RPM. So, with the handle low, bearing in mind, keep your forearm and your wrist away from this sharp edge, I would bring in and start. As you can see, it's bouncing. Now, what Mr. Lucas was suggesting, which is what I have done and it works, is you have the handle low and you use your body to make a series of grooves until you get a flat surface. Whether this will work, I don't know. We'll soon find out. And just nibble away. Starting to get it flat there. Go in a bit more, bring it in. Now I'm trying to get too much off at the same time. So let's take it a bit easier. And just keep going towards the middle. And what you're basically doing, you're moving your body and doing a swinging cut using the wing of the tool. Now we're fairly flat there. Just the end where you've got to be obviously careful because you've got the bark there. Actually on a bowl, an ordinary bowl, which is solid, that's a very good way of flattening the face. And the only reason for flattening the face is it allows you to increase the speed a bit. A bit more here. Now, one thing to note with this, it does dull the tool very quickly. Okay. Now do a full cut. And off the end. So now we've got the face nice and flat. So the next thing now is to start to move the edges. And again, light cuts and just nibble away to begin with to get rid of these sharp edges. And just pick up the cut. No pressure. Let the tool do the work, just to start getting a shape. I've got the handle fairly low. I've got the flute not closed, but about 2 o'clock if you like. And just stop and take a look. Now we're starting to get a shape there now, and that will also allow us to put the tool rest in a bit closer. Just check everything is away from the tool rest. Now you could start doing a bit of a push cut here, but just see how it goes. There are various methods. Just nice, gentle cuts, working your way around. You see, with a bowl, an ordinary bowl, you wouldn't have this problem. But again, that's why I like the stem centers, because they warn you you're taking too big a cut. And with this, you don't need to. That's why I'm going to be going through the method as opposed to sanding and finishing, but I will go through what I would do at each stage, and possibly, if enough of you are interested, we could possibly do the finishing on the next one. Let's just get the shape. To begin with. And all this time I'm staying well out of the way of the line of fire. Just trying to establish the basic shape. Stop and have a look. Now it's starting to come. There's quite a bit. There's quite a bit of a indent there. Never mind. Right, now I'm going to have the handle really low, and I'm going to be cutting the fibres at about 45 degrees and taking quite large cuts, but not heavy cuts with regards to pressure. Starting to form the shape on the bottom here to give me an idea how far I'm going to have to go before I get to the top here, but as you can see it's pretty much on line there, so I'm quite happy with that. By in line I mean it's in line, and you can see where the bottom of the bark is here, and if you see it going around this way, it's virtually on the same plane as here, so we're on the right track. So turn the rest a bit now, bring it in a bit. Really important with this sort of work, always make sure that you turn the piece by hand, because it's surprising how you forget. You might be able to turn 600, 650, yeah, we're on 650 now. Now, light push cut. Right, immediately I can tell I need a fresh edge, so I'll just spin this around and we'll see a difference straight away. Stop and have a look. Yeah, we're getting there now. I'm not worried about this now. Let's just get this, the wings into some sort of a shape. Again, too deep a cut, too heavy a cut I should say. And like with an ordinary bowl, I'm not forcing anything with my left hand. That is purely putting pressure on the bowl gouge onto the rest. Stop and look, go in a bit. See, we're starting to get the shape now, not far to go. I'm not worried about these cracks because, as I say, that is something I would sort out normally with CA glue and either sawdust or coffee ground. Just nice slow cuts. I'm taking quite a bit off here, but not putting too much, not going forward too quickly. Pick up the cut. Right, move the tool rest again. Once this is done, this is the longest thing to do, is just getting these edges down. It can't be rushed. I don't think there's far to go now. We're there on that one. Need to go a bit more here. Okay. Start again. Start to bring it in. Put it in again. As you can see there, we've got a ridge there and a ridge there, which is good because it means it is now getting to a stage where it's fairly even. We need to go in a bit further, but not too far to go now to get it having the right, virtually the wing sorted. Yep, that's virtually there. That's good. Okay, now there was a little bit of an upturn on this part of the piece, but it'll be slightly less in diameter by the time I've got it as I want it. Now I can start working on bringing this around to blend in, and that will obviously bring it up to here. And what I'm going to be doing is putting a tenon on. Two reasons for the tenon. Mainly because I like tenons for this sort of a bowl anyway, and I'll be using the medium gripper jaws from Axminster, which give a really good hold. Not a dovetail, a straight serrated jaw. And then that means then that I can do some finishing cuts, spin him around, put him in the chuck, hollow out the middle, but then I can go back to finish it at a later stage, sanding and finishing, because obviously you don't want to be sat here for 3 hours while I'm doing all that, because sanding and sanding especially, there's quite a bit of hand sanding in this sort of a piece. We've done it again. The reason for this, I need to have a quick sharpen. So over to the Sorby very quickly and just put an edge on both of these. It's surprising how it does take it out of the edge when you're hitting a lot of air, especially with hardwood like this ash. So just one pass. That's one done. Spin him around. And I keep saying in most of my videos, this is the brilliance of the Sorby, everything is so quick. There we go, 2 passes. I could have changed the camera angle I suppose, but not worth it to see my side. Okay, so now let's go get a bit more. There we go. Okay, so now the next let's just change, excuse me a minute while I just blow chippings off the computer. If I go to the tailstock end, just to show you how low the handle is going to be, because what I'm going to be doing now is having the tool rest quite low, and I'm going to be pulling around here in a pull cut just to get the basic shape. Now sometimes it works well for me and other times it doesn't, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Now what I'm doing, I've got the handle right down and I'm approaching the work with the wing and pulling around. It's not a finishing cut, this is a roughing cut, but I can take large amounts of wood away just to get the basic shape. And it doesn't leave too bad a surface either, even on the end grain here. Now I've got to go in a bit further, so we could actually just do this a minute. Okay. So again, handle low, using the left wing, got it anchored on my right, just below my right hip. Pick up the cut and bring it round. And you're slicing the fibres. It's a very good method of getting rid of the bulk of the wood. Stop, take a look. Now that's coming on quite nicely. So what I'll do now is swing the tool rest a bit, and we'll start the same here. Start on the edge. Again, my body's to the right of the wood. All I'm doing here is just getting the basic shape. Needs to come in there. Keep them stopping, looking and checking. Yeah, it's not too bad. Right. Okay. Now on this, from here now we could actually start a push cut. Let's try that. I'm a little bit not concerned as such, but you can see these cracks here. This is something I would address at this stage. I would normally fill that, as I say, with CA sawdust, CA coffee ground, whatever, but it is the method, not so much the finished piece on this one. And maybe we could do that on the next video, because you have to let it dry, obviously. So again, a push cut, just lift the handle, get your edge, and just nice and gently move around. Let's go to the overhead. That's better. Pick up the cut again. Stop and have a look. You see how that is starting to take a nice shape now, and it is on the same plane as, they're both on the same plane within a hair. And that's all to do with setting it up in the beginning using that as a reference. As you can see there, we've got that bit to go. There's about the same amount on both to the edge. So just follow that round now with the approximate shape you're looking for, and then you can do some fine tuning later. So just nibble off the edges. Almost there now. It's going to come in a bit more there, obviously, but we've got the basic shape now, and I'm quite happy with that, actually. It's always a bit nerve-wracking, even when you're doing it on your own, when you're doing this, the wings flying about, etc., and it's very difficult to get a steady cut when you've got it virtually square. But once it gets to this shape now, you can refine it. Got a bit of a ridge there, so I'll be looking to start about there, just to go in, and I think I'll just get a sharp edge for that. Okay, now should be able to turn the speed up a little bit. Don't want to go that much higher anyway. It's around 700 revs now. It's not vibrating, but I don't really need to go any quicker than that. So again, just pick up the cut nice and gently. And off the edge. Now the reason I'm not too worried about the bark, ash, I've done a lot of ash natural edge bowls, and ash is brilliant for keeping the bark on, so I haven't got that problem. Quite often if I'm using another wood and I want a natural edge, I will do the bark to the wood from the other direction, otherwise it'll lift it off. But this is really solidly on, and I haven't actually, dare we say it, have it come off. Okay, we'll finish that now, and what I'll do is just go and ask you if you have any questions. We can have a drink. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the face. Has anybody got? If I've missed questions, I apologise. What I intend to do, I think I've said on a few other videos, is when I stop turning, if you ask some questions, I can see the chat. Hi Shay. Oh, well, one thing I think you might all think is funny. I asked my wife whether she'd come out and read the chat so I could answer questions as I'm turning. And some of you know me quite well, know that my wife Muriel is really not interested in wood turning, and she said to me, I'd rather poke pins in my eyes. And she said, while we're at it, when you say to me, come in the garage and have a look what I've done, she said, my heart sinks. So that's what I get, the support from my better half. Not. Okay, hello Richard, do you want some pointers there, Mike? Mike, what size gouge have you been using? I did say in the beginning, I think the half inch bowl gouge, which is my go-to bowl gouge, if you like. For finishing cuts, I would possibly use the 3/8 bowl gouge again. Hi Shay. Hello, Mr. Oliver's Wood Turning. Good evening, Ed. Graham Light. Good evening, Graham. How are you? I've been meaning to try this. I've been boring into the laurel all day. Very smooth and silky. Yeah. This is not a smooth ride. Let's put it that way, especially with me at the helm. But I do like doing them. Costas, how are you? Nice to see you, my friend Costas Anikas from Greece. Nice to see you, Costas. Richard Chester, evening Mike, fascinated by this piece, might have to go. I'm fascinated by it as well, Richard. It stayed on the lathe, would you believe? Mind you, it's between senders, so it's before Oliver's wood turn it says anything. Alright Ed, how are you? Archie me better half loves me being in the shed. Oh, I didn't say Archie, she wasn't happy with me being out from under her feet. She just has no interest in coming in to see what I'm doing or to give me a hand when I'm doing these live streams, which I think is, you know, not good. So BB2, yes Shay, it does sound very familiar. Levi Wick, hey Mike, do you mind if I share a link to my Facebook page here? Not really, Levi, I suppose. You do that, mate. Roger Delaney, why don't you tenon first and then the profile? Well, the reason for that, very good question actually, Roger Delaney, why don't you form the tenon first and then the profile? The reason being is that I don't know what is going to be needed to get the shape. On a normal bowl I would do that as soon as I've done the face, but with these bowls I'm never sure if the shape's got to be right, if it's got to be the right balance, so I do the tenon virtually last and then obviously carry on the shape from there. But you could do if you so wish. Paul Brown Productions, Haley Abraham, Steve Robson, don't forget the thumbs up. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for reminding everybody. Hope I answered your question there, Roger. The thing is, I think, to be honest with you, it's like people do you prefer a tenon, do you prefer a mortise? There are times I prefer a mortise. The reason I don't do mortises on these very often, I could use a screw chuck, in which case I could do a mortise, but I always find when you've got the tailstock up, which are obviously it's between centres at this stage, I find it a bit difficult to do a mortise, so I do a tenon. And also I'm not sure at the end of it whether I'm going to leave a little foot, turn the mortise into a little foot, or turn the tenon into a little foot, or take it off completely. Richard Chester, I think the eye rolls from my leader of the opposition are when delivery. Yes, could quite agree with you, Richard. There's a sign in our kitchen actually that says, "Did I roll my eyes out loud?" Brilliant. Matt Harbour, how are you? Thank you for coming. Archie Me, I love how the steb centers work, Mike. When the piece stops spinning, I'll be getting some of them. Yeah, especially with something like this, because you do get a bit carried away, take a heavy cut, and rather than get a catch, it just spins. And all you've got to do is tighten up the tailstock again, and away you go. I find them great. I would like to get a bigger set, actually, and I think Ed Oliver sells them, so I might be on the phone to you in a day or two. That's it, I think. Yes, Matt Harbour says also another option is using a waste block. Yes, you could use a waste block. I'd have no qualms. If I use a waste block, I would use it, hot glue it on. I've got no qualms with the integrity of hot glue, as most of you know. So that is an option as well. Yes, indeed. That's my pleasure, Paul. Thank you very much. Or Paul, I should say. Right, let's get on. So, I'll go back, I think I'll go to the tailstock end. Okay, so now I've got to just do a little bit of light shaping here, and then we're talking about the tenon. So what I'm going to do now is start to form the tenon, and as I've said, I will be using these jaws, which have a serrated profile to them. Hang on, let's go that way. Serrated profile. There's no dovetail, but they have really good holding power, and I prefer these jaws, for example, when I'm doing off-center goblets. Mind you, it doesn't matter what I use on off-center goblets. Reason being, they normally fly off anyway. Okay, get my old helmet on. So now I'm going to be looking at forming the tenon, and calipers at the ready. Okay, so again, handle well down, doing a pull cut. Tenon is going to be somewhere around here, I should think. Already I'm going to be needing to sharpen, so I am taking rather big cuts. And as I always say, when you feel that your tool needs sharpening, it does. Okay, so that's got to come up going to make it a little smaller, as it would have done anyway. So what I'm going to do now is just square off that tenon. Now be very careful when you're using anything like this, because you're quite away from okay. Quite a way to go there. So just in a bit more, 90 degrees into the surface. And just square that off. If we just easy thing. Just get your smaller rest out for this. If you've got one, get nice and close. There we go. All I'm doing here now is just ensuring that that is nice and square. Just a tad more. That's lovely. That's all I need. Go back to the larger one. Take out the insert. Okay, so now it's going to be a case of just finishing off the shape, the final shape I should say. So I'm going to just finish off here with a couple of very light shear cuts. Just to leave a nice surface. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but that from there to here, I've got a little bulge there which we'll sort out now. Okay, quite like that. Just got this little end bit to do here, and I think the outside is basically done. slower you go here, the more likely is you're going to get a decent cut, because you're cutting air here. And with the best will in the world, you're going to get a bit of bounce. Yeah, that's not too bad at all. Just there. Well, that actually, just here, that's where we've got our cracks forming there. So what we need to do now is go up to the other camera on this, I think. Yep. And what I'm going to be doing now is just doing a shear scrape, if you like, just to blend that in. So you've got virtually on centre, you're cutting your shear scraping with the bottom wing, and you mustn't obviously allow the top wing to catch. So you want that as near as you can, but you're doing the work with the bottom wing. Just very light cuts. Now, unfortunately, with a bowl like this, you must always remember not to put your hand on it while it's spinning. I know it sounds silly, but I've done it, because you forget. Just that little ridge there. Just very fine cuts, just to blend in a rocking motion. As you can, hopefully the camera will pick out very fine little angel hairs coming off there. Just that bit there needs a little bit of work. And this is the fine tuning. At the end of the day, hopefully up to now it's demonstrated the method I use. We'll just get rid of that little bit there. So bearing in mind you are on air here, so be very wary. Feather it out, and that should have got rid of that bump, I think. Was it? Yes, it has. So that is basically the shape, and now I can turn him around. Obviously, as I've said, there would be fine tuning with a little bit more shear scraping and sanding, obviously, and then a finish. So we will now say that the back is finished, and I'll spin him around and we'll start hollowing out the inside. And when I've turned him around, we'll have 2 minutes on. We'll have 2 minutes on questions. Let's get rid of that. On the old chuck. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. There you go. We'll just spin him up to see that it's running through. Turn the speed down. Yeah, very pleased with that. That's okay. Okay, we'll go back to face, and there's face, with my headgear on. Are there any questions at this time? Every time you pass by Greece. Oh, a great discussion on olive wood. Yes, one of my favourite woods to turn is that. Lovely. Evening, Mr. Trevor Doran. How are you? James Pritchard, do you still use the Easy Chuck? Yes, I do. Still got the Easy Chuck. Here he is. I do use it, but I'm a bit faddy, to be honest with you, James. And well, because of the goblets I'll be doing, I've from history I've always used my medium gripper jaws, which I'm using today. So you know, the chuck is fine. It's just I do like using these as well. Joseph King cost us I have a 40-foot shipping container. Right, okay, got to try and find some olive wood. Yeah, olive wood, some lovely olive wood. This is not an advert. Friend of mine, Neil Rolfe, olive wood turning, specialises in olive wood. But I'm sure Mr. Ed Oliver does olive wood as well. If he doesn't, he should do. Paul Hooden, thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. So are there no questions at the moment? Hi Van Ram from South Africa. Pleased to see you and thank you for coming. Stuart Farini. Good evening, Stuart. All hail Stuart Farini, the colour master. Well, him and Ed, of course, and Martin and lots of other people. Thanks for tuning in, Stuart. I appreciate it, my friend. Obviously got nothing better to do. What a... Sounds like I failed cheese balls for today. Mr. Farini is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. When you were outstanding wood turning, I'll have to visit your Facebook and YouTube channel often. Yeah, Wayne the wood turner, a very accomplished turner. Good friend of mine. I made something spin at Harrogate, at Maker Central with you on the stand with me, didn't I, Wayne? Tom Dillard, Junior Mike, I bought a few blanks from Neil, always helpful. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, I met him a couple of times. Oh, it's good, John. Yeah, it's quite a few. He's very popular and he does do... Funny bit of my strap. Oh! Paul Rochracher J. Now I finally picked up my Stratos XL. I'm absolutely fascinated. Can you recommend any first projects that require such a massive weight? Not really. As big as you can get. 22-inch blank, that's what you want. Do 22 inches over the bed. So, or 11 inches over the bed, 22 inches diameter. Stuart, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Yeah. Wayne and I are the Flying Goblet Brothers. Chris Cox, good evening. How are you? Good. Glad you're enjoying it, Andy. I'm enjoying it too. It's always great to have you lot here. But I do enjoy doing these bowls, I must be honest. First time I've done one in a demo, mind you. And of course, the big problem, if you like, with this sort of a bowl, especially when you're not a swift turner like me, it's the sanding and the finishing that takes the time. So, as I say, I'm not going to go into the sanding and finishing. What I will say is at this stage, by the time I've turned it round, I would have sanded and finished the back of, or the underside of the bowl, which is fairly obvious, I think. Oh, right, so Danny, hey Mike, sorry, didn't hear the response why you switched to the Sorby system. I get asked this a lot because I was a great advocate of CBN wheels. When I had my CBN wheels, I thought they were great. Ed Oliver is to blame, as well as Martin Saban-Smith and a few other people. At shows I've been to, I tried them out. Tried out the Sorby Pro Edge, and this is not an advert for Sorby Pro Edge. I wish I'd found it on day one. It is a repeatable, easy setup. It's a small footprint, and I can't speak highly enough of it. I've had it now for, I don't know, 18 months, something like that, and I love it. I can sharpen, okay, I've got double-ended Simon Hope Chrome Cryo tools, but even if I've got a single tool, it takes seconds. It's so repeatable. I had a one-way, as you know, with the CBN wheels. That's repeatable as well, but there was always a couple of thou, out each time, unless you really spend time with the saw. You bung it into the arm, you ram it home with the right distance, and it does the job. Absolutely brilliant. So yes, I actually sold my CBN setup, and with the money I got for that, I bought the Sorby Pro Edge and had money left over. So yeah, if you do go for one, I would highly suggest going for the Sorby Deluxe, the Pro Edge Deluxe, because that has all the bits and bobs that us wood turners need. Right, okay, what I'm going to do is just go to a really, I thought your weave pack was awesome. I'm just going to go for a break, and we all know what I'm doing. Thank you, Mr. Trevor Doran, that's very kind of you. Much appreciated. Altion, I just got my first lathe this week and turned my first thing, a toy one for my daughter. I can tell you a gouge is dull or not. Are they supposed to feel like knife sharp? They're supposed to cut you if you touch the edge, put any pressure on it. Atlian, 9 times out of 10, you'll be turning with a blunt tool or a dull tool. Make sure they are sharp, because it's dangerous if you use an unsharp tool, because you put too much pressure on the work. So sharpen frequently. Right, am I missing anything here? No. Mike Angela's vape time. No. Did you see me vape? I don't think so. Costas, thank you very much. You're a star. Thank you very much, mate. Aidan, spliff time. No, many years ago. Not now. Mike, I wish I could stay more. Costas, I am really appreciative of you coming. It's been great to see you. You take care. Go to Costas's channel as well. He's got an amazing channel, a very accomplished turner, production turner as well, in Greece. Thanks, Costas. You stay safe as well. Cheers now. Thanks, Wayne. I've got everything else in the garage, but I haven't quite got a loo in here yet, mate. Oh dear. Wayne is saying, Mike, if you're going to the loo, don't leave the mic on. No, I won't. I remember somebody sent me in chat, they sent me a video on that, where somebody had left a conference room, gone to the toilet, and left his lapel mic on. Yeah. Looking about my first lathe, thinking about the Record Power Coronet Herald. Dewar McGowan, I've never used a Record Power, but they are very good lathes, I understand. Everybody who's got one loves them. More than that, I can't say. Good night, Costas. Take care, mate. Thanks a lot. And thanks very much for your donation. Much appreciated. Okay, I think we'll start doing the centre. Okay, back to the old tailstock end. Okay, now just get rid of this, just get rid of my now under normal circumstances I quite often advocate having your tailstock up for as long as you can. Now, if I just want to go to the overhead a minute, just to show you something here. Now, the preparation that I did, let's get that there. This is not showing off, this is just showing how important it is. I did quite a lot of preparation before I came on air. Now, if you look, that is square, okay? It's square to the, it's 90 degrees to the bedways. Now, you can see that if I put that touching, almost nearly touching there, quite a way off there, so it's not as concentric as I like. I like it when I put the rest here, spin it like that, and it's exactly the same distance for that wing and that wing. So I am slightly out. So it does pay to spend a bit of time on the setup when you're doing a natural edge bowl, but it's not too bad. We'll get away with it. Okay, let's go to the end camera. Actually, you can bear with me a minute. You might be able to just see half of me. I'm just going to put another edge on both these. No, I shouldn't have to go back to it then. That's one done. And going back to what I was saying earlier on about the Sorby, it's things like this. It's just so quick. Even with the CBN wheel, I used to get to a stage where you think, oh well, I'll leave it. I'll do one more cut. But with this, once you've got everything set up for your angles and your bevel, it's just literally, what did that take, 30 seconds possibly. Okay, so let's raise the tool rest a bit. And a bit more, we'll get it right in a minute. Yeah, okay. So now the point of the exercise is to obviously hollow out, and again to try and get as even a wall thickness. I'm not going super thin, but one thing I will say is that when you get to the outer edge, like you would on a thin bowl, whatever, you work your way into your finishing cuts, because if you're doing a thin wall, then once you've done this bit and you go down a bit further, or I want to do this again, it's virtually impossible because of the flexing, and you can't really put your hand behind it like you can on an ordinary bowl because it'll cut your hand off. So it's important. But basically the same way that we would do a bowl, hollow out a bowl, turn the speed up quite well now because it's really quite well balanced. Doing 750 revs, that's more than enough. So just start. That needs to go up a bit more. Anybody think I'd never turned on this lathe before? Right, okay. So again, with a move your body. Just want to get rid of some of the bark and just work your way in. That's just get rid of the worst of the bark area for my first cuts. And always remember to slow down when you get to the middle of the bowl. Now I know the more experienced turners will know this. When you're actually, even when you're hollowing out, you don't actually use your left hand to guide your tool. This is for the newer turner, if you like. It's your right hand or your hip that does the moving. Not all this hand is for is to put downward pressure on the tool to the tool rest, to secure it to the tool rest. None of this business where you're using it to move in. You will find, if you get into the habit of not using your left hand apart from anchoring your tool, that you'll have a much better cut at the end of the day. And the most important thing, as I say, is when you're doing something like this, make sure that your wrist doesn't get anywhere near. Always keep to the tailstock side of your tool rest. Okay, so all we're going to go in to a light cut. As you can see, I'm not using this hand for anything other than putting downward pressure. Now I'm going to start leaving wood in the middle. Because I want some mass. Something fell off somewhere then. I don't know if it's a mouse, possibly a mouse. Never mind. Even a mice like what to be turned from a distance. Now, there's a point to make here. Obviously, when you're doing something like this, I can't show you very well here. Maybe if I can now, it won't work either. Hang on, let's go to the face a minute. This is again for the newer turners. When you're doing a cut normally, you would, let me just put this down just a little tad. You'd have your tool down like this, and this is how you'd be turning. Well, the thing is, when you're turning or turning a bowl and you're hollowing out the inside of a bowl, you obviously can't get, enough hip swing. So the basic thing is that when you start your cut, if you've got your arm out here, okay, whoops, let's get in there. You've got your arm out here and you're going down. If you lock this arm, and then you can move your body because you're away from the lathe. Either that or do a rowing motion where you'd start out here, whoops, out there, and on the same plane, keeping it on the same plane, you'd be doing this business and going through like that. And you're not actually using your hip to guide. Just not very well illustrated because the cameras aren't set up for it, but nevertheless, hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, let's carry on. Now the problem here is I would normally take the tailstock off, but hang on, we've got the wrong camera. Sorry about this. There we go. But luckily, with my adjustable tool handles, I can make it shorter. Now, the reason I'm getting a bit of chatter is I'm taking rather big lumps of wood away. But as you can see there, the surface even on the end grain is really quite acceptable. Well, now we're getting the idea of what's going to happen, or the shape that we're going for. Now I want to go in a bit straighter here now, so I'll be going in like so. I'm going to have to move that because it's in the way. There you go. So again, just starting, start the cut, and then swing round. Whoop. Now I don't mind having a little, hopefully it didn't take any bark off. If it did, I'll be really annoyed. No, the other thing is, oh it did, took a bit of bark off here, never mind. That's because I committed the cardinal sin. I was looking at the monitor, which is silly, I know, and it caught. Now the thing is with that is if you're holding the gouge too tightly with white knuckle ride, then that would have been, or could have been, a rather nasty catch. But if you hold it like you should do, just firm enough, like you're holding a chicken egg if you like, stopping it dropping and not allowing it to crack, that's all the weight or all the pressure you need to apply. So, another lesson learned for the newer turners: concentrate. And again. Now we can stop and have a quick look and see what sort of thickness we're getting. Going to there. That's going to be quite good. Yeah, we'll take it from there and see how that goes. Now at this stage, my advice is always to stop and look, and what we need to do is go in a little bit more sort of straight on, and that then will start to thin this part of the wall. So just pick up the cut and go in straight down. Now if I stop and show you, you can see it's starting to cut here, but it's not making this any thinner. So we'll just take that bit away there a little bit. Yep, starting there, just so. So you're not starting to knock that down there quite nicely without, and forget this piece, we might find it and stick it on at a later date. But I mean, I still hold by the fact that with ash, your bark is very safe unless you get a catch like I did, in which case It's not that safe, staying on wise. And I should think that's virtually, you start taking away from the middle. And also be wary, again for the newer turner, be wary when you're going in here that you're not going to catch your tool on the wing. Started to come. Now we get rid of down to here now, we can move the rest a bit and get a bit closer. Again, being careful not to catch the wings, which gives us a little bit more. We're too far out from the piece before. Now we can move the tool resting a bit further. Let's make that a bit longer. The other thing with doing it this way, it's also good practice. Doing a lot of little bowls. Apart from the practice piece I did this afternoon, or this morning I should say, I haven't actually turned a bowl for a few months. So it's all a good learning curve. Stop and have a look. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'm a little bit wary here because of the cracking, and it doesn't go right through, but what I'm going to try and do there, I've got a bit of a ridge there. I'm going to take the 3/8 bowl gouge and just try and get rid of that. And the reason I'm using the 3/8 as opposed to the 1/2 inch, yeah, that's got rid of it virtually. Yep, just a little bit down there. One more cut, as they say, bearing in mind you're cutting air here, so you're working, get the heel on the go and then lift the handle to engage the cut. I think that's got rid of the ridge. Yep, that's got rid of it. Lovely. Okay, so down here now we just need to smooth that around a little bit. Again, heel. Yeah, that's quite good, he says. Right, you can put the rest in a little bit more now and get rid of the centre bit. Yeah, that's quite good. Okay, I'll take a bit more down of the nub and then I'll change the, swap the blade over for a sharper blade for the final cuts. Now, I'm taking rather big cuts here. Not necessary, don't have to do that. You can just take lots, if I just do lots of little cuts. There we go. And when you're turning on your own and you're not, time isn't a problem, just practice taking nice light cuts. And I'm just trying to get rid of wood to save on time, really. Make it a little bit longer, keep my wrists out of the way. Now again, for the newer turners, I keep saying that, I mean it with all due respect, I was thinking there, last 2 cuts, 3 cuts, I'm going to have to sharpen. Well, I've got double-ended tools, so I don't need to, but I've got a fresh edge now, and you see the difference in the way this cuts. No effort whatsoever. Okay, let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's not too bad, not too bad. It's got a bit of a ridge there, which I shall hopefully remove now. Very, very light cut. See if that's got rid of it. one more pass, should get rid of that. Just there. Just feel it there, look. I missed it on the last one. There we go. Just there. That should have got rid of it, and it has. Okay, so we'll just finish this off now and go to the middle with these bits, and then time for some questions. Couple more finishing, couple more cuts just to get it virtually there. You see there, I'm rubbing my heel, I'm not actually engaging the cut there. Slowing up to the middle. And I think, yeah, I could go down a bit further, but I'm basically gonna, it's been an hour and a half now, I'm basically gonna leave it there. And what I would do now under normal circumstances, you do some fine tuning, some fine cuts, and just to get the surface ready for sanding, and then sand and finish. So let's get back to the face, this ugly face of mine. I'll just take it off out the chuck. If I can find the chuck key. Ah, I bet that's what fell on the floor, was it? Right, that's going to be handy. What do I do with it? Right, talk amongst yourselves, please. Luckily I got a spare chuck key. That's the first time I've lost my chuck key. It fell off the lathe. Okay, so basically that is the shape. There's obviously fine tuning and refining to be done, but it was basically the method of how to do a natural edge bowl. It's a shame that fell off there, but that's one of those things. What I'll most probably do is take it all off and just have that without the bark on. But that's what I did earlier. That was my practice piece, and whoops, and that went very well, all nice and fairly even. So yeah, this one, just to let you know, that does have to go in a bit further here in the middle, has to sweep in a bit. There's quite a bit of meat left there, What I might well do is do that on the next one, and then we can finish it completely. But the beauty of this is you can put it on. Oh, I'll tell you what I will show you very briefly. When you're, let's get rid of all this. I've just got to blow my computer off, excuse me. That's better. I don't know if you'd be interested to know, some people are asking how I would turn the foot off. Well, not just turning the foot off, but also a good method for sanding the back of this sort of a bowl as well. I'll go to the tailstock again. Just take the chuck off and show you what I do. I was asked this question actually. Somebody asked me this afternoon when I posted a picture of the practice one. Now I use a friction drive, and what it is, very simple. A Beal tap for an M33 thread, fits straight onto the spindle, and I hot glued that to a cone which I just turned, roughly turned, covered that with shelf liner, covered the shelf liner with a bit of old sheeting, stapled it all down and just covered it with insulating tape just for safety basically. Now that screws straight onto my spindle like so. Let's get rid of that. This is why it's important when you're doing a sort of any turning like this, when you've got to reverse turn it to get the foot off, is always make sure you keep the center hole for guidance. So then you literally bring up your tailstock, seat the bowl on there, bring up the tailstock, bring up your live center into the center, because we know that's the center of the bowl, and then with luck it will be fairly centered. Let's go to the overhead. I haven't touched it apart from, I haven't done any wiggling, if you like. So you can see it there, that's running really quite true. When I say true, this part here, it just needs a little bit of manoeuvring. All you do is just ease it off a bit, maybe scoot it round a bit. Try again. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Slight bit of movement there, but again, with a little bit of moving around, that is a really great method of reverse turning a natural edge bowl, because obviously you can't fit them into cold jaws, obviously, but there may be other methods, but I find that I've used that for years and it's suited me down to the ground. I actually do bowls as well. If I can't be bothered to set up the cold jaws, I use that method for those as well. Out of all the YouTubers, I think Phil Anderson, Shady Acres Woodshop, does the best tenon removal videos. There we are. Dave Caswell has said, out of all the YouTubers, I think Phil Anderson and Shady Acres Woodshop does the best tenon removal videos. Fine. Well, I follow both of these guys. They're very good turners. So Phil Anderson and Shady Acres, go across there and you'll find out the best way to turn a tenon off your bowl. Thanks for that, David. That's okay, Shay, my pleasure. Everybody does things differently. I mean, there are many more than one way, many more ways than one to skin a cat. You know, it's personal preference. And actually on the day as well, how you feel on the day. Mike, can you show a steb center for a viewer? Yes, of course I can. Bearing in mind, there is a steb center, a steb drive and a steb live center. Okay, and don't do what I've done on 2 occasions. Put the, now there is the live center, steb live center, and there is a steb drive. Okay, and they're both spring loaded. That cone, that point is spring loaded. So depending on the pressure you put on the work when you put it together like so. Yeah. If you apply a very small amount of pressure, if you get a catch or you get a dig in, the wood will just spin, and then all you do is tighten up the tailstock and you're way to go again. I love them, and as you saw there on 3 or 4 occasions, it saves you having a catch that could damage the piece. It just spins, you just tighten up the tailstock, as I say, and away you go again. They are great bits of kit, but remember, do not put, that's the live centre, that's the drive centre. Now I've actually done it the other way around by mistake and wondered why nothing was moving. Well, that's the reason, because I had a freely moving drive centre, not to be recommended. And I bet you some of you lot have done it as well, haven't you? Come on, own up. What grind? My bowl gouges are 50 degrees, I believe. Yeah, 50 degrees. I just like it. You know, they suit me. Everybody. This Glenn Lucas demo I was watching before I came on here, he actually, for his bottom feeder, I think is 65 degrees. You know, it's something I might try. But 55 is a good all-rounder for me anyway, for my turning style, if you can call it a style. Whose handle were you using on your gouge? Most of my gouges, this is an extra long one, it's the Simon Hope quick release. I'm a great fan of them. I think they're brilliant, especially with the double-ended tools. It means you can swap over quickly. You just do one, sharpen both, a couple of seconds, and then you've got two to work at the same time. These are the sort of the normal ones. That's the spindle gouge. The quick release just comes out, plops in. And the good thing with them is that if you know, like if you're working in a bit of a tight spot, because I've got the cameras and everything else, you can just slot it in and make it a short spindle gouge, or you can make it a long spindle gouge. You know, brilliant. He also does grub screw handles as well. I've got a couple of those, and I use those on what I call a fixed blade, which has got a tang, and I use that. There's no point paying the extra for the quick release, because I've never got to take it out the handle, or very rarely anyway, apart from sharpening possibly. Matt Harbour, yes, you've done the Stable Live Centre, good man. I'm glad I'm not alone. Mike, could you leave most of the bark on and just wood burn the part where it came off? Yes, I could, Matt. I could. I don't know. I'll have a look. I think it came off in one piece. So if it came off in one piece, thank you, Silk. That's very kind of you. Appreciate it. If I find, oh, that's the good one. That was the practice one. If I find it, it looks to me as if it's come off in. I don't know if you can see there. Just here, come off in one piece. So I'll have a forage around in the shavings. If I find it, I'll just put a super glue and I'll stick it on. But all is not lost. Thank you, John. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jennifer. Glad you enjoyed it, my love. Thank you very much for coming. Yes, I don't know who DL Woodard is speaking to, but yes, keep all your body parts behind the tool rest for safety reasons, because if you don't, it hurts, believe you me, especially with a natural edge bowl like that. It certainly does. Bram, thank you, Bram. Good gig. I'll start playing guitar next, Bram. Thanks very much for coming, mate. I appreciate it. You take care. Love to the wife as well. Thank you. Alan, decorating, great demo again. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Alan. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Let's have a quick drink. That's going to be one of my quickest demos, I think. I don't know you. Silk says on your wristwatch, as I found out. Not being funny, I normally have a wristwatch. I've got a pinky ring and a wedding ring. I never wear anything when I'm in the workshop, even when I'm doing gardening. I don't believe in it, but each to his own. Following last week's explanation, excuse me, on negative rakes, I tried one and it's a totally different tool. Thanks, Mike. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Steve. I'm enjoying the tool. I mean, the negative rake, I'm a great exponent of it personally. If there'd been more time tonight, I would have showed it on here, but maybe next week I will finish that bowl off and I'll be using a negative rake on it. Where's a good place to source wood? Mates who've got a tree surgeon business. There are lots of places that supply wood. Oliver's Wood Turning, Olive Wood Blanks there, Styles and Baits, there are loads of people. But the best, my advice, if you don't mind drying it out, that is, of course, by just cutting it into long logs and sealing the ends and storing it for a few years, or doing wet turning with them, which is great fun. Go to your local arborist, or ring him, send him an email. I did about 8 or 9 locally in our area. I didn't get a reply from one, apart from one. And that one I used to get quite a bit of wood from. He doesn't do it anymore, but yeah. Thank you, Ronnie. That's very kind of you. Much appreciated. Ah, right. Okay, Shay. Shay says he can't get his rings off swollen joints. Well, yeah, okay. There are obviously exceptions to every rule. I do find difficulty getting mine off because my joints aren't brilliant because I got arthritis, but luckily I can. Bit of spit and cold tap water tends to work. Thank you to Lundy Turning, Wood Turnings. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. Thanks. Cheers, Silk. All the best. Thank you. That's my pleasure, Lee. Yeah, look forward to seeing you on the next one. Hopefully next Sunday, if all goes well, if I'm not back to work. Yes, I would normally give more, 2 or 3 days, but something cropped up privately and I wasn't sure whether I could do tonight's demo until yesterday. So that's why it's a bit later than usual. I normally like to let you know on a Thursday stroke Friday. Thank you, Adam. That's very kind of you. And Brian, thank you so much. You're both stars. Well, you're all stars. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Stuart. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming, my friend. Thank you to Lundell. I appreciate you coming again. Thank you. Thanks, Paul Collins. You're a legend. You mean legend, don't you? Legend, not legend, legend. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're very kind. Steve Ellis, I've seen a picture of a defleshed ring finger, something I wish I could unsee. Yes, I totally agree. And they call it degloving as well. I've seen people degloved. I saw somebody degloved in real life many years ago and it's not a pleasant sight. Paul Smith, I love listening to your demos, learn loads. Thank you, Paul, I appreciate it. Learn those from Mr. Oliver. Yeah, good. Mr. Oliver is a professional turner, unlike me. Mind you wouldn't believe it sometimes. Sorry, Ed, had to be said, mate. Thank you, Peter Finch. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, I'm the first, am I? Good. I hope I've given a good impression, not a bad impression. No, I thoroughly enjoyed them myself, and thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mick. Take care, mate. All the best. Thank you very much for coming. Yeah, chat to you in the week, Ed. You take care, mate. All the best. I didn't mean it about your turning abilities, honestly. Danny boy, thank you very much. Danny, I appreciate it. Take care, Ed. Say goodnight to Ed Oliver. Finishing, what would I use? Well, on this piece, on this sort of a piece, I'd use my normal finish, to be honest with you. Let's get the one that hasn't got the bark missing. I would sand down to 320. I'd Yorkshire grit, Hampshire sheen, job done. Or oil, because what I tend to do on the bark, it's not so essential on ash, because the bark is pretty sound unless you knock it off with your gouge. I would normally put Danish oil or something on the bark just to sort of keep it supple, but there's no need on ash. So yeah, but I think I'll do that next week. I'll do the finishing next week. Richard, hopefully a few more people will head over and see you invade your invade. Yeah, maybe. You never know. You never know, Richard. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Richard, the Beard 16, interviewed me week before last, and it went up on Thursday. So if you want to see some really boring interview from some Welsh idiot, pop across to Richard's channel, Richard Bennett, the Beard times 16, and have a look. Had a great time, Richard. Thank you, Leroy. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Tim Knight, thank you, sir. Cheers, Yvie. All the best. David Jones Morris, thank you, Mike. Enjoy the demo. Diolch yn fawr. Dear, well, Steve Robbins, another amazing. Well, I wouldn't go amazing, Steve, but I appreciate your comment. Okay, mate, you take care. Thanks very much for turning up again. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Rich Keelan. Take care. Shay, not nice to see, Mike. Seen him quite a few times in the fire service. Not easy to treat either. Oh, you mean degloving? Yeah, and yeah, terrible. Not good. There's nothing to work with, is there? There's no skin left. Ed used my Simon Oak 6mm hollowing tool I got from you the other day for the first time today. Brilliant tool. James Cassidy. Yes, it is, James. I'll tell Ed. He's gone now, but I'll tell him when I speak to him next. Yeah, oh, I love that tool. Absolutely love it. You wouldn't believe how much it takes. A little 6mm cutter, if you get it right, it takes a lot of wood away very quickly. Okay, Mr. DL Woodart, thank you very much. Thanks for turning up. Appreciate it. Take care. Hopefully see you next week. Thank you, Brandstrup. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming in again. I appreciate that. Thanks, Chris Cox. Take care, mate. Thank you, Stuart. You're very kind. I like to have a laugh, Stuart. Don't take myself too seriously. It's a hobby after all said and done. Douglas Mungham, I saw a video of finger being ripped off and the tendons hanging. Yeah, good. Thank you, Douglas. Don't put a link in the description, will you? No, it's not funny. I've seen it and it is, apart from being very painful, as Shay, my friend, said, he was in the fire service. It's very difficult to treat as well. Bit like a burn, I should think. You've got nothing to work with. Archie May's got a live edge bowl mic after I've got my Sorby sharpening system as my... Oh dear. Enjoy. Just take it easy and it'll work well. Thank you, Gerard Dubois. Very kind of you. Thank you, sir. You're a star. I appreciate it. Yes, live stream Rob. Yes. I saw your video about the tennis ball in the off centre. Yeah, fine. Well done. I've never thought of using it, to be honest with you, on the off centre part. But yeah, you proved it worked. Good man. Thank you, Steve. Glad you enjoyed it, mate. Thanks very much for turning up. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Shay Lenham, night all, great demo. Thank you very much, Shay Lenahan. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for coming again. You're becoming a regular. Have to get out more. James Cassidy, cheers, Mike, and good night. Always enjoyed to watch. Thank you, James Cassidy. Always a pleasure to have you here as well. Thank you very much. Cheers, Simon. All the best. Thank you. I'll stay for another 10 minutes saying goodbye to people because there's still 256 people here at the moment, which I can't believe. And thank you for all those that have clicked the like button. Button. It helps. Cheers, Mike. Good night. Thanks, James. Thanks, Simon. Take care. For those of you that are here, just a yes or a no. My thought is possibly next week to do a sort of another live demo, but I'll do it on the finishing of the bowl I turned tonight. If you'd like to see that, let me know. If not, I'll do it in the week and show you the finished product next week. Thanks a lot, Bespoke Creations. I appreciate you coming. Thank you very much. Thank you, Douglas. Good night to you. Thanks for coming. Sean Tyndall, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. It's my pleasure. On sanding. Well, I'll tell you what. What I suggested, as I say, this one I did tonight, it needs finishing, obviously. So what I'll do next week, I'll put this into finishing and we'll go through a bit of a sanding, not a tutorial, but the way I sand and the things to watch out for when sanding, not just a natural edge bowl, but any bowl, so we can incorporate the two. So I'll say it finishing the natural edge bowl and some sanding practice. How's that? Okay, that's done. That's going to be next week, or hopefully next week, or my next live stream. That's what it'll be. It'll be finishing off that bowl and some sanding and finishing. Okay, Paul. Yeah, it's done, mate. Good night to Lundy, wood turning. Thanks very much for coming. Thank you, Frederick Day. Thank you for coming, sir. Always appreciate your presence. I'm going to go off camera just for a second, but I will be back. But I got told off for somebody actually saw me vaping, so you can't see me now. You can hear me, but you can't see me. Good night, Wayne Bigfoot. Thanks for coming, my friend. Shay, yes please mate. Is that an answer to the sanding? Okay, well anyway, that's going to be my next live stream, definitely. Finishing off that bowl and doing some sanding and finishing. Not sure how I feel about watching sanding, Matt. Well, I can understand that, my friend. I'm not. I won't be going up to 600, I promise you. It's basically a few people have asked me in the past, although I've got a video on it, is Matt, go away. Sanding technique. I mean, mine is not a perfect sanding technique at all, but I think it might make a good subject in conjunction with finishing cuts and what have you on that bowl. Vicky Boswell, I'm a new turner and I've learned so much from it. Oh, thank you. You explain everything really well. If I get half as good as you, you'll be laughing. Well, don't laugh too loud. You want to get better than me, and that won't be difficult. Thank you very much for that, Vicky. I appreciate it. You're very kind. Good night, Gerald. Thank you very much, Gerard. And thank you very much indeed. Bonsoir. Anybody else watching, bonsoir is French for good night, just in case you didn't know. Us Welsh people know other languages, you know. Leroy, what time does your live stream start on Sundays? It's 7:30 p.m. UK time. Okay? So it's British summertime at the moment. 7:30. Thanks, Shay. I appreciate it. All the best, mate. Marhaba, you never know what will come, Vicky. I strongly encourage you to look through all of my... I'm keeping quiet, Matt. Thank you very much, Matt. I know you were teasing, Matt. If you didn't say it, I'd be really upset, because it wouldn't be like you at all, would it? Mr. E-Ray Yoda. Thank you. Take care. Good night. Mike, have you done a demo on the eccentric chuck? No, Paul, I don't actually own an eccentric chuck. That's a question from Paul Collins. Only eccentric turning I do is shifting my goblets in the chuck to make them eccentric. Or off-centre turning, where you've got 3 points either side of your spindle and you make a three-sided box. But no, I haven't got an eccentric chuck. Ed Oliver has, and I think he actually used it in his last demo. I think they're great if you use them a lot, but they're only good for that and nothing else. So it's no substitute for a proper chuck, obviously, but to add to your armoury if you do a lot of off-centre turning, might be a thought. However, I agree, the beginner tutorials... Thank you, Archie, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Makes it all worthwhile. I hope you're not laughing at what Archie just said, Matt, because that would be really upsetting. Not. Hang on, I've just got to out of camera a minute. Not having a drag of my vape. Ugh. Can't stand mess. Oh. Ah dear. Oh, I tell you what I can show you, for those of you that 236 people still here. It's amazing. I'd like to thank each and every one of you, by the way, for turning up. I really do enjoy these live streams. Even if I don't do a perfect job, I enjoy it, and if you take a little bit away, then it's well worth it. Oh, Yoda, yeah, good. You love your negative rake scraper. I love mine as well. It was something I practiced. I experimented with them, Ray, for months and months and months. There are so many different angles that people prefer. It's a personal thing, but I've just found that 35-35 works very well for me. Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Paul, is this the after hours show? Yes, Paul. I find it very difficult to shut up. No, I find it very difficult to go when people are still on. I will obviously go at 9:30 in about 3 or 4 minutes, but I like to say goodbye to people and thank them for coming, basically. But I do enjoy a chat as well. I've taught you a bit over the years, have I, Matt? Yeah, well, you've forgotten more than I'll ever know, mate. Mr. Matt Harbour. At one point I will make, I've been asked by a couple of my long-time subscribers, am I going to be doing ordinary videos or am I just going to do live streams? Well, while I'm on furlough, I am going to be doing live streams, and I do leave them up on YouTube, and some people say, oh, they're too long. Well, of course they've got to be long. They're unedited. You can't edit them. There is a way of editing the front of them, I think, or the beginning and the end, but it's not worth it. People realise it's a live stream. They can fast forward to bits they're interested in, but I will be doing videos again in the future as well as live streams, but at the moment I'm enjoying my live streams and I hope you are too. Thanks very much, Jennifer. Look forward to seeing you on my next demo. That'll be next Sunday, hopefully. Thanks very much for coming, my dear. I really appreciate it. Frederick Day, before I go, do you secure the bark so it doesn't come off? Frederick, I don't know if you saw the beginning, ash like this and like this one, the one I did tonight and the one I did earlier on as a practice. With ash, I've never had a problem with the bark coming off. It's solid. It really is solid. It's one of the few woods that I would recommend. Don't recommend super glue in or CA. What I normally would do with bark, if I want it to stay on, is just put thin CA around the rim where the cadmium layer goes into the wood, and let that set up. But to be honest with you, I very rarely do live edge bowls unless they're in ash or a similar bark retaining wood. But yeah, you can use CA glue. I will be using CA glue actually, Frederick, on this one. If I can find a piece of bark that flew off as a result of my carelessness, nothing to do with the wood coming off, then I will CA glue that on. So that'll be all part of next week's live stream if I find a bit of bark. Thank you, Jennifer. Take care. Oh, I say goodbye to you. I'll say goodbye to you again. Good night. Archie, yes please, keep the streams coming. I look forward to the Sunday. That's very nice of you, Archie. I look forward to Sunday evenings as well. I must be honest with you, I always get butterflies. It's really weird, and I love that feeling. I haven't had that for years, because when you're doing videos, you're on your own. If you mess up, you know, you either leave it in like I normally do and editing, but this, you can't, there's no hiding place with a live stream, and I love it. It's a great buzz, and I'm glad you enjoy it too, Archie. Thank you. Thank you, Michael McEwen. That's very kind of you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks very much. Hope to see you again. Right, I'm gonna just go to the quickie. Go to the break. I know you can still hear me over the music, hopefully. Okay, Shay, you take care, mate. Thanks very much for turning up, my friend. Take care. No, Mick, I haven't upset Leisure, as far as I'm aware. She must have had something more important to do, like watch some of her pieces that she's painted dry, you know, something more interesting than watching me prattle on. No, she might be watching somebody else. Have a change. But in answer to your question, Mick Stratton, no, I haven't upset Leisure, as far as I'm aware, anyway. Okay, I think I'm going to call it an evening. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Oh, hang on, Bespoke Creations, do you put your own angles on scrapers to make them negative rate? Yes, I do, yeah. I'll show you very quickly. There is that there. Oh, I've got my hand in the wrong place, idiot. Okay, that there started life out as a 1-inch round nose scraper. This is an answer to Bespoke Creations, and I then put a 35 grind on it, negative rake, and it is one of my go-to tools. One thing I will say, which I'm sure you're aware, I have the the grub screws there and the angles on the back, and I always turn that way, because when you touch up the edge, which you can do with a credit card, diamond credit card stone, or indeed on your grinder or belt system, whatever, make sure that you only touch up the under bevel, because you want to raise the burr. Okay, if you do that side and then you go to your work and you do that, you hardly have an edge because the burr is pointing downwards. Just a little tip. You can take the burr off completely for hardwoods, which is fine, but if you're using a burr, raising the burr, make sure you sharpen the underside. You see how I prattled on? You only asked me whether I sharpened them myself. You didn't ask for a brief description of how to sharpen them. But I gave it to you anyway, free of charge. Archie Mee, I was static caravan in North Wales. Oh, nice one. I'm thinking of buying a second lathe for the spare room. How could I eliminate vibration? Archie, I've got no idea, my friend. Put it outside under an awning. That'd be a good idea. No one's got to pinch it, it's too heavy. I love that. For those of you that haven't seen that, Archie says that he has a static caravan up in North Wales, and he's thinking of buying a second lathe for the spare room, and he wants to know how he can eliminate vibration. Thanks very much for coming, Matt. I really appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it. Have a nice night yourself, my friend. Take care. My pleasure, Bespoke Creations. Some people who've known me for a while are quite dubious about asking a question, because I tend to go into too much detail. But that's just me. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much indeed for coming again. Thanks for everybody that donated and liked. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday at 7:30 UK time. Take care now. Cheers.